SpaceJamJar here. So today we're talking about the grandfather paradox. My hair's wet, so I just got out the shower, and I don't have enough time to really let it dry, because I've got stuff to do today. So I've done like half an hour of research, and I'm here just to spout some ideas at you, right? So what is the grandfather paradox? Well, to begin with, the grandfather paradox. What is it? So first off, what is the grandfather paradox? Well, the grandfather paradox is an idea that arose as a result of time travel, which is if you go back in time, which in and of itself is something that's highly theoretical. What would happen if you killed your grandfather before he'd had any offspring, right? Um, because if you kill your grandfather before then he's dead, so he can't have your mum and have you, or your dad and have you, and then you don't exist. However, if you don't exist, then no one was there to kill your grandfather. So then, how did your grandfather die? That's the paradox here. So there is there is a scientist who you may have heard of. His name is Stephen Hawking, and um, he suggested um, that a couple of theories that linked the grandfather paradox, and one of them was the consistent histories model. Um, and I'm not gonna pretend to understand this one. I've read about it, and I've got a very vague grasp of the idea, but I don't actually understand it. So I'll try my best. um, so the consistent histories model um, is the idea that the past, the present, right now, right this second, and the future all take place at the same time in a contained box. Um, so you have the start of time and the end of time on a timeline, and then everywhere else in between, the past, present, and the future, are all existing at the same time. This links to the grandfather paradox because if you kill your grandfather in the past, then that's fine because you killed him in the present past. If that makes sense, or it doesn't make a difference because you've already existed in the present, so you can't not exist because of the past. Because yeah, I think it means something like that. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but that's one interpretation. The one I believe personally is the many worlds theory. This is everywhere in superheroes and like Marvel, DC. It's the idea that as the result of an action, two identical worlds are then forced to differentiate into different worlds. So if you've played the game Until Dawn, you're familiar with the idea of the butterfly effect. So a butterfly flapping its wings could create a massive storm. There's also a movie called The Butterfly Effect. I just haven't watched that one. Um, if a butterfly flapped its wings, it could create a hurricane in the future. Or a less exaggerated example, I could drop a fiver while I'm out, and then later down the line, I might need that fiver to buy a Mackey's. If I don't have the fiver, I can't buy the Mackey's, so I go hungry. If I do have the fiver, I can buy nothing from Mackey's still because meals are like £8. In relation to the grandfather paradox, as soon as I went back in time, I went to another exactly identical world up until that point, where I could kill my grandfather, and then that would relate that me killing my grandfather in that world would affect that world's history and not ours, because my grandfather personally would still be alive in my own personal universe. I know that they talk about this in Back to the Future. Haven't watched Back to the Future yet. I'm working through a bunch of classic films right now, but a film that I have seen, which is very tangentially related to the grandfather paradox, is Spider-Man: No Way Home. Right. Spoilers for Spider-Man: No Way Home. If you have watched the end of that film, then you know Doctor Strange erases Spider-Man's existence, or Peter Parker's existence, from everyone's collective memories, right? So now Peter Parker's in a situation where he exists but no one knows who he is. That could be another way that the grandfather paradox could work in a more science fiction-y kind of outcome, where you would still exist but you wouldn't be the same at all in the slightest. No one would know who you were. You wouldn't be related to anyone. You wouldn't have any ancestors, but you would still exist because you've already been born, and you have to exist to kill your grandfather. The one thing that can't happen, like theoretically at all, would be that you just completely stop existing. Because that could maybe be an outcome, even though if you didn't exist, then your grandfather wouldn't be dead. But you couldn't kill your grandfather and then just disappear out of existence, because one of the fundamental laws of physics is that matter can't be created or destroyed. So you couldn't just stop existing, otherwise you would create antimatter, which doesn't make sense. So just popping out of existence wouldn't be an outcome of the grandfather paradox, because matter can't be created or destroyed, and if you disappeared, then where would all that matter go? Same also for your parent, the parent of the grandfather, or the offspring of the grandfather. They would stop existing as well completely. So there would just be loads of matter that had just been destroyed, which is one of the laws of physics. Matter can't be created or destroyed, because it's when you die, right? You're biodegradable, so your matter doesn't disappear. It just gets converted, same as like energy does. So completely vanishing wouldn't work. And if you died, then that would suggest that you had to have been born at that point to then have died, which doesn't happen, as stated multiple times now. Honestly, I think I've covered most of my points there. There's not really there's not much talk about the actual time travel part of it. Um, just because that's a really complicated subject. I'm gonna wrap it up here because I've got to get ready for other stuff I've got to do today. So thanks for watching. Leave a like and subscribe. And I might make another video on time travel. That's quite interesting, to be fair. All right, bye.
I be popping bottles, sparkles and champagne. VIP my section, royalty looking sexy, you know that is my bae.